Arlene clinked her wineglass. The sound echoed through the dining room. My dining room. The one with the marble countertops I'd saved 3 years to install. The one with the crown molding I'd restored myself. The one where I was hosting Thanksgiving dinner. Alone. I had cooked for 12 hours. I had spent $400 on groceries. And now my mother-in-law was making a toast. She stood up. She smiled at her son. She smiled at Miranda. Miranda, the high school ex-girlfriend, the one Arlene had been bringing around for months, the one she thought was traditional family material. Arlene raised her glass. I want to say something. The table went quiet. I am so proud of my son. He deserves the best. He deserves a woman who will take care of him. A real wife. She turned to me. My son needs a real wife, Brynn. Move out. Derek sat there, silent, smug. Miranda hid a smile behind her hand. Arlene waited. She expected tears. She expected a tantrum. She expected me to fight. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I reached into my bag. I pulled out a manila envelope. I slid it across the table. Arlene looked at it. What is this? I said, open it. She opened it. She pulled out the papers. She read them. I watched her face change. The smugness evaporated. The smile died. The confidence crumbled. I said, that's a 30-day eviction notice. Signed. Notarized. Legal. She looked at me. I said, I own this house. My name is the only name on the deed. Derek has no equity. He has no rights. And neither do you. I stood up. I walked to the kitchen. I grabbed the best bottle of wine, a 2019 Napa Cabernet. I'd been saving it for a special occasion. This was a special occasion. I walked to the front door. I turned back. 30 days. You have 30 days to get out. If you're not out by then, the police will escort you off my property. I opened the door. I left. Behind me, I heard Arlene screaming. I heard Derek's voice, panicked. I heard Miranda asking, what just happened? I didn't look back. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before I tell you what happened on that Thanksgiving, I need to tell you about the 4 years I spent being the breadwinner, the caretaker, and the doormat. The years I spent watching my husband and his mother take advantage of everything I built. The years I spent being the real wife they didn't deserve. That should have been my first clue. I just didn't want to see it. Let me start at the beginning. Before I continue, I need to ask you something. Have you ever had someone move into your home and act like they owned it? Have you ever had a mother-in-law treat you like a guest in your own house? Have you ever watched your spouse stay silent while you were humiliated? If yes, hit like and subscribe right now. This channel is for every person who has been treated like an intruder in their own life. Where are you watching from tonight? Drop your city in the comments. I'm recording this from my house in Denver, Colorado, and I promise you, by the end of this story, you're going to understand why I don't host Thanksgiving anymore. And if you've ever had to evict someone from your own home, comment eviction, so I know you're my people. Some of you already know where this is going, but trust me, you don't know the half of it. Let's get into it. My name is Brynn. I'm 31 years old. I'm a commercial real estate agent in Denver, Colorado. I make $120,000 a year. I own a 2,800 square foot craftsman style house in a historic Denver neighborhood. 4 bedrooms, a wraparound porch, original crown molding, a kitchen with marble countertops I'd saved 3 years to install, a backyard with a garden I'd planted myself. I bought this house before I met Derek. My name is the only name on the deed. I worked for years to afford this house. I worked weekends, I worked holidays. I built my career from nothing. I didn't inherit it. I didn't marry into it. I earned it. Derek and I met at a mutual friend's barbecue. He was charming. He was handsome. He had a way of making me feel special. He was a consultant. He was between jobs. He was always between jobs. That should have been my first clue. He moved in after 6 months. His lease was up. He needed a place to stay. I had space. I said yes. I didn't know I was inviting a parasite into my home. Derek didn't contribute. He didn't pay rent. He didn't pay utilities. He didn't pay for groceries. He paid for dinners sometimes. He bought me flowers on occasion. But the mortgage, the insurance, the property taxes, that was all me. I didn't mind at first. I thought we were a team. I thought he was finding his footing. I thought he would eventually contribute. I didn't realize he had no intention of contributing. I didn't realize I was being used. Then his mother moved in. Arlene. She had financial issues. She needed a place to stay temporarily. I said yes. That was my second mistake. The escalation. The mother-in-law. Arlene arrived with 8 suitcases. She said it was temporary. She said it would be just a few months. That was over a year ago. At first, she was sweet. She told me I was so generous. She told me I was so kind. She told me she was so grateful. Then she started to relax. Then she started to make herself at home. She rearranged my kitchen. She moved my spices. She reorganized my cabinets. She told me I was doing it wrong. She criticized my cooking. Too salty. Too bland. This isn't how Derek likes it. She criticized my cleaning. You missed a spot. Are you sure you're using the right product? I don't know how you live like this. She criticized my work. You work too much. You're never home. Poor Derek, left alone all the time. I said nothing. I didn't want to cause conflict. I didn't want to seem ungrateful. I didn't want to be difficult. I stayed silent. I took it. Derek never defended me. When his mother criticized me, he looked at the floor. When she rearranged my kitchen, he said nothing. When she made me feel like a stranger in my own home, he stayed silent. He was spineless, complicit, pathetic. And I was too blind to see it. That should have been my third clue. I just didn't want to admit I had made a mistake. Arlene started bringing guests. She hosted coffee mornings in my house. She invited her friends, her neighbors, her book club. I didn't mind. It was her way of feeling useful. It was her way of feeling at home. Then she started bringing Miranda. Miranda was Derek's high school ex-girlfriend. She was divorced. She was traditional. She was the kind of woman Arlene thought Derek should have married. Miranda was everything I wasn't. Submissive, homemaking, always available. Arlene brought Miranda to Sunday dinners, to family gatherings, to my house. She sat her at the table. She served her. She praised her. Miranda is such a good cook. Miranda would never work so late. Miranda understands what it means to be a wife. Derek said nothing. He smiled at Miranda. He laughed at her jokes. He didn't stop his mother. I watched it happen. I felt something die inside me. I started paying closer attention. Arlene was orchestrating something. She was bringing Miranda around more and more. She was talking about her as if she was already part of the family. She was replacing me, right in front of me. I asked Derek about it. He said, "It's nothing. She's just a family friend. My mom is just being nice." I said, "Your mom is trying to set you up with your ex-girlfriend." He said, "You're being paranoid." I wasn't being paranoid. I was being gaslit. I was being made to feel crazy for seeing what was right in front of me. That should have been my fourth clue. I started documenting everything. I printed the deed. I found the mortgage statements. I gathered the property tax records. I had proof. I owned this house. All of it. Every square inch. Derek had never contributed a single dollar. I called my lawyer. His name was Marcus. He was blunt. He was efficient. He had seen everything. I said, "I need to evict my mother-in-law, and possibly my husband." He said, "What's the situation?" I told him. Everything. The moving in, the criticism, the gaslighting, the ex-girlfriend. He said, "You're the sole owner?" "Yes." "Your husband has never contributed to the mortgage?" "No." "Has he ever made improvements to the property?" "He painted a bathroom once. I paid for the paint." Marcus said, "Serve them a 30-day eviction notice. If they're not out by then, we'll have police escort them off the property." "Can he fight it?" "No. He has no equity. He has no rights. It's your house." I hung up. I felt something shift inside me. I was no longer the victim. I was the one in control. I drafted the eviction notice. I had it notarized. I put it in my bag. And I waited for the right moment. I offered to host Thanksgiving. I was the one with the big house, the dining room, the kitchen with the marble countertops. I was the one with the money. I spent $400 on groceries. I spent 12 hours cooking. I made everything. Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, pumpkin pie. Derek didn't help. Arlene didn't help. Miranda didn't help. They sat in the living room, drinking wine, talking about how wonderful they were. I cooked alone. I set the table. I lit the candles. I served the food. Arlene sat at the head of the table. She had claimed that spot months ago. She said it was because she was the matriarch. I let her. Miranda was there. Of course she was. She was sitting next to Derek, laughing at his jokes, touching his arm. Arlene was beaming. The meal was good. Even I had to admit that. The turkey was moist. The stuffing was perfect. The pie was golden. I had done everything right. And it didn't matter. Because I wasn't the one being celebrated. Arlene stood up. She clinked her wine glass. The sound echoed through the dining room. "I want to say something," Arlene announced. The table went quiet. "I am so proud of my son. He is such a wonderful man, so hardworking, so kind. He deserves the best." She smiled at Derek. "He deserves a woman who will take care of him, a woman who will be home when he needs her, a woman who understands what it means to be a wife." She turned to Miranda. "I am so grateful Miranda is here tonight. She is such a wonderful woman, so traditional, so loving." Miranda smiled. Arlene turned to me. "My son needs a real wife, Brynn. Move out." The room went silent. Derek sat there, silent, smug. Miranda hid a smile behind her hand. Arlene waited. She expected tears. She expected screaming. She expected me to fight. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I reached into my bag. I pulled out the manila envelope. I slid it across the table. Arlene looked at it. "What is this?" I said. "Open it." She opened it. She pulled out the papers. She read them. I watched her face change. The smugness evaporated. The smile died. The confidence crumbled. I said, "That's a 30-day eviction notice. Signed, notarized, legal." She looked at me. I said, "I own this house. My name is the only name on the deed. Derek has no equity. He has no rights. And neither do you." I stood up. I walked to the kitchen. I grabbed the best bottle of wine, a 2019 Napa Cabernet. I'd been saving it for a special occasion. This was a special occasion. I walked to the front door. I turned back. 30 days. You have 30 days to get out. If you're not out by then, the police will escort you off my property." I opened the door. I left. Behind me, I heard Arlene screaming. I heard Derek's voice, panicked. I heard Miranda asking, "What just happened?" I didn't look back. I drove to a hotel. I booked a room for the night. I took the bottle of wine. I ordered room service. I didn't answer my phone. My phone started ringing at 8 p.m. Derek. I let it ring. He texted, "What are you doing?" I didn't respond. "Is this a joke?" No response. "You can't evict us. I'm your husband." I replied, "You're my husband. You don't own my house." "But we're married." "Married doesn't mean entitled. You've never paid a single bill." He called again. I didn't answer. Arlene called. I didn't answer. Miranda texted. I didn't mean to cause any problems. I replied, "You didn't cause any problems. You just exposed who they really are." I turned my phone off. I slept for 9 hours. I went back to the house the next morning. Derek was sitting on the porch. He looked terrible. Red-eyed, unshaven, desperate. He said, "Can we talk?" I said, "About what?" "This. What you did. You can't just evict us." I said, "I can." And I did. He said, "Where are we supposed to go?" I said, "That's not my problem." "You're my wife!" then act like a husband. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. I walked past him into the house. The house was a mess. They had trashed the place. They had left dishes in the sink, laundry on the floor, a mess in every room. They were trying to punish me. They didn't realize they were just confirming I was right to evict them. I took photos. I documented everything. I sent the photos to Marcus. He said, "Looks like you made the right call." I said, "I know." The 30 days were agonizing for them. They had no money. They had nowhere to go. They had no plan. Arlene tried to guilt me. "How could you do this to family?" I said, "You told me to move out. I'm just making sure you follow your own advice." Derek tried to manipulate me. "I still love you. I never wanted this. I'll do anything." I said, "Like what? Defend me? Contribute? Be a real husband?" He had no answer. The ex-girlfriend ghosted him. She didn't want a broke, homeless man. She didn't want the traditional wife role. She wanted a winner. Derek was not a winner. Day 30 arrived. They weren't out. I called Officer Reyes. Officer Reyes arrived at 8 a.m. He was professional. No nonsense. He had seen this before. He knocked on the door. He told them they had to leave. Derek tried to argue. "This is my house. I'm her husband. You can't do this." Officer Reyes said, "Your name isn't on the deed. You have no legal right to be here." "But, sir, you need to leave. Now." Arlene started screaming. She screamed at me. She screamed at the officer. She screamed at the universe. I stood on the sidewalk. I watched them pack. I watched them carry boxes to a U-Haul they could barely afford. I watched them drive away. They moved into a cramped apartment in a bad part of town. Derek tried to get a job. He couldn't. His reputation was ruined. He had been living off me for years. He had no real skills, no real experience. He was nothing without my house, my money, my support. I changed the locks. I deep cleaned the house. I painted the rooms. I burned sage. I reclaimed my space. I'm still in the house. The craftsman with the wraparound porch, the original crown molding, the marble countertops. I walk through every room and remember. I remember the day I bought it, the day I signed the papers, the day I became a homeowner. I worked for this house. I earned it. And no one is ever going to take it from me. I filed for divorce. Derek didn't fight it. He had no money for a lawyer. He tried to ask for alimony. He couldn't afford the legal fees. He signed the papers. He walked away with nothing. I'm dating again. Slowly. Carefully. The new man doesn't need my house. Doesn't need my money, doesn't need me to support him. He just needs me, and that's enough. I hosted Thanksgiving this year. Different guests, different energy, different joy. I cooked the turkey. I set the table. I lit the candles. And I didn't answer my phone when Arlene called. She called on Thanksgiving. She wanted to know if Derek could come over. She wanted to know if we could work things out. I hung up. I blocked her number. I haven't spoken to her since. If you're listening to this and you're living in a house where you're not respected, I see you. You don't have to stay. You don't have to tolerate being treated like a guest in your own home. You don't have to let anyone take advantage of your kindness. The people who use you do it because they think you won't fight back. They think you're weak. They think you're scared. Prove them wrong. Know your rights. Protect your assets. Keep your receipts. And when they show you who they are, believe them. And act accordingly. The best revenge is not a fight. It's a piece of paper. It's the law. It's the quiet, devastating realization that everything they took for granted was never theirs to begin with. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I gave them 30 days. And I watched them leave. So tell me, would you have done the same thing? Would you have evicted them? Would you have filed for divorce? Comment Team Eviction if you think I made the right choice. Comment Team Forgiveness if you think I should have given them another chance. I read every single one. If this story hit you somewhere deep, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Like this video. Subscribe for more stories about boundaries, justice, and learning to protect what's yours. Until then, stay steady. Stay unshakable. They wanted me to move out. I moved them out instead. And I kept everything.